Good morning. French, yes. Beluga whales. Oh, you have them on the river? The only time I've seen them is at SeaWorld. It must be beautiful in the wild. Magnolia, so good to see you this morning. Tracy, no, there will not be a pop quiz at the end of this live. Ragin, our favorite Cajun. And a shout out to Cynthia. Enjoy your day with your family. So we have 5 principal areas of the brain. And they're very important. Yes, thank you, Cynthia. Enjoy your time with your family. We appreciate you. Enjoy yourself. I hope it's nice where you are. So, okay, what do we got? Cingulate cortex. Cortex. Am I in Spain or something? Primary cortical component of the limbic system. It involves emotional and cognitive processing. What does that mean? Thought processes, memory, emotions. Off to the right, the thalamus. Now, the thalamus, as you're growing inside the womb, is one of the first things that grows in the brain. Fun fact. Hypothalamus. Aggression. Hippocampus. Now, hippocampus is very important. Learning, memory, ability to compare sensory information to expectations. Amygdala. That's a tongue twister. Amygdala. Motivation, emotional control, fear response, interpretations, nonverbal emotional expressions. I think we saw that yesterday. Somehow, somewhere, I think. So, psychopathic traits. I think we're going to study the brain in the morning with psychology and society. So, let me get that off of there. Remove it. Thank you. Here we go. I absolutely love this channel. I'll put a link in the chat.
It doesn't matter where you were born. Your culture trained you to betray yourself. The only difference is how it taught you to do it.
From the moment you're born, You enter into a contract you never agreed to. It isn't written, it isn't signed, but it governs everything. The contract says, if you become who we need, we'll let you belong. That's the unspoken deal. Be useful, be likable, be safe, and maybe, just maybe, we'll keep you close. In collectivist cultures, the price of belonging is self-suppression. You learn to silence your desires, to put the group first, to be obedient, humble, invisible. For the family, the tribe, the society, step out of line, you're not just wrong, you're a disgrace. But in individualist cultures, the betrayal looks different. There, you're told to stand out, to chase your dreams, to express yourself. Sounds like freedom, right? But here's the trap. Your authenticity is only celebrated if it's marketable, if it wins, if it gets likes, applause, validation. In other words, you don't get to be real, you get to be profitable. So no matter where you are, East or West, tradition or modernity, there's always a quiet demand. Bury what makes you inconvenient and wear what makes us comfortable. This is the first betrayal. And it happens so early most of us don't even notice it. Psychology has a name for this tension: identity versus role confusion. A stage where you ask, who am I really, beneath what they expect? If that question never gets answered, you become a patchwork of roles: the good child, the high achiever, the loyal partner, the quiet worker. Roles that once kept you safe now keep you stuck. Anthropology tells us this isn't new. In early tribal life, survival depended on fitting in. If you challenged the group, you risked exile, and exile meant death. So we evolved to conform, to adapt, to hide our wildness to avoid rejection. But here's the problem. Today, the threat isn't wolves outside the village. It's the slow death of the self inside a system that never knew your name. And philosophy? Nietzsche called it herd morality, the idea that societies create values not from truth, but from obedience. So the loudest voices become the moral compass, not the wisest, not the kindest, just the ones who follow the rules best. So now you're left with a choice. Do you keep betraying yourself just to belong? Or do you break the contract and risk finally becoming you? Not all betrayals are loud. Some come wearing the smile of tradition or the glitter of freedom. But beneath the surface, the pattern is always the same. You're asked to trade a piece of yourself for the promise of peace. In the West, the betrayal is packaged as ambition. Be productive. Hustle harder. Build your personal brand. Here, you're not told to suppress yourself. You're told to sell yourself. Your thoughts, make them content. Your face, market it. Your life, monetize it. But what happens when your soul doesn't trend? When your real self doesn't fit the algorithm? You're taught to edit, filter, performance, until what remains is a mask that gets applause, but leaves you empty. In the East, the betrayal takes a quieter form. Here, it's not your ambition that's polished, it's your obedience. You're taught to shrink your voice to preserve harmony, to suppress desire in the name of duty, to carry the weight of your family's expectations even if it breaks your back. The word for shame might change from language to language, but the message is the same. Don't make us look bad, even if it kills who you really are. Religious cultures aren't exempt either. They tell you to kill your doubt before it kills your faith. You're handed answers before you've even formed the right questions. And if you dare to wrestle with truth, you're not called brave. You're called lost, rebellious, unfaithful. So you nod, you pretend, you play along. Because pretending is safer than exile, even spiritual exile. Even liberal, progressive cultures, those that pride themselves on openness and expression, carry their own mask. You're told to speak your truth, but only if it's confident, only if it's polished, only if it aligns with the latest narrative. Doubt, messiness, uncertainty, those make people uncomfortable. And so, even in spaces that claim to be free, you learn to betray your questions to appear like you've figured it all out. So whether it's the West or East, faith or freedom, conservatism or liberalism, the game is the same. Keep what's convenient. Cut what's complicated. You become the product of your culture's comfort zone, because every culture, no matter how evolved, has blind spots. And in those blind spots, it hides the parts of you that don't serve its story. So you adapt, you wear the mask, you follow the rules, you make yourself more acceptable by becoming less you. But here's the truth most never admit: no mask is harmless. Every time you wear one, a piece of you disappears behind it. At first, it's just for survival, then it becomes habit, then identity, until you forget there was ever a face beneath it. So ask yourself, which mask are you wearing right now? And more importantly, who would you be if you didn't need it anymore?
That's a good question. What mask are you wearing now? Kiz, good morning. Wyoming, our favorite gal. How are you this morning? We all wear masks, don't we? We sure do. So, who am I? Who are you? What do you want in life? Are you just going with the flow to get along? Um, is the brick wall too hard to penetrate? What are we doing in society now? It's interesting.
At first, the mask feels uncomfortable. It itches. It weighs on your face. It doesn't quite fit, but people like it. They praise it. They reward you for wearing it. So slowly, quietly, you begin to adjust. You smile when you don't want to. You stay silent when your body screams to speak. You chase things you're told matter, even when they leave you feeling hollow. And somewhere along the way, you forget it was ever a performance. The mask becomes the mirror. And the role? You start believing it's you. You're no longer pretending to be the responsible one, or the high achiever, or the calm, collected adult. You are those things now, or so you think. Because somewhere between the pressure to belong and the fear of being abandoned, you buried the parts that didn't fit. What began as protection becomes identity. You don't say, "I'm acting brave." You say, "I am brave," even when you're crumbling inside. You don't say, "I'm pretending to care." You say, "This is just what adults do," even when it all feels fake. This is what psychologist Donald Winnicott called the false self, a version of you constructed to meet expectations, safe, predictable, functional, but disconnected from the raw, real feeling self underneath. And over time, the cost of living this way starts to show. In small ways at first: sleepless nights, irritability, feeling numb in rooms that should feel warm. Then bigger signs appear: chronic anxiety, quiet resentment, sudden bursts of sadness you can't explain. You're not depressed because something's wrong with you. You're depressed because something real in you was silenced for too long. And you're not alone. History has done this to us for centuries. Take the ancient Spartans, a society built on discipline, strength, and control. They trained boys to never cry, to endure pain without flinching, to kill emotion in the name of power. Sound familiar? Fast forward to modern Americans, chasing productivity, suppressing vulnerability, measuring worth in output and praise. Different world, same wound. Both systems worship discipline, and in doing so, they teach boys, and eventually men and women, that softness is shameful and feeling is failure. The result? Generations of people who can't cry, can't rest, can't admit they're lost, because they've mistaken coping for character. And it's not just historical. It's deeply psychological. Living a life that doesn't reflect your truth creates a quiet war inside you. Cognitive dissonance, when your actions say one thing, but your inner truth whispers something else. You smile when you want to scream. You agree when you long to rebel. You stay in relationships, jobs, routines, because the real you was buried under the functional one. But here's the hardest part to admit. The longer you wear the mask, the more afraid you become of taking it off. Because what if there's nothing underneath? What if the real you was never enough? That's the lie the mask wants you to believe, because without that lie, the mask has no power. So ask yourself, are you living as who you are or who you were trained to be? And if the answer scares you, good. That means something real is waking up.
Berg! Good morning. Yeah, raging in French. Yeah. Would we even consider interacting with people on the internet today? I doubt it. I doubt it. So why do we watch? What is it in our brain that makes us want to watch? Does it excite us with messiness? I guess they call it messiness nowadays. With all the fighting, arguing. Are we so disappointed with our own lives? We need that dopamine hit to catch us up and make us feel important, belong. What's the motivations? What is it? What mask are you wearing today? Interesting. Let's go to psychopathic tricks. I love this channel. And I just clicked it off. Absolutely love this channel. Sleepwise. Hey.
Feigning ignorance is one of the most insidious tools in the sociopath's arsenal. At first glance, it seems harmless, even clumsy. But beneath the surface lies a calculated, manipulative maneuver designed to disarm confrontation, dodge blame, and confuse the target into submission. When a person pretends not to understand what they've done wrong, they force you into the uncomfortable position of explaining something you already know they comprehend. This tactic drains your emotional energy while keeping their hands clean, feigning ignorance to avoid accountability. The brilliance of this trick is that it doesn't deny the accusation outright. Instead, it undermines the premise. A simple, wait, what are you talking about? Or, I didn't even know that was a problem, delivered with wide eyes or a tilted head, creates enough plausible deniability to stall accountability. The more emotional you become trying to explain what they already know, the more irrational you appear, making them seem like the reasonable one. It's a psychological smokescreen. By pretending to be clueless, they force you to question your assumptions and lower your defenses. You might even start second guessing your perception of events. Maybe they really didn't understand, you tell yourself. And just like that, the conversation shifts from their wrongdoing to your tone, your clarity, your expectations. Feigning ignorance is particularly cruel because it mirrors a childlike innocence, making it difficult to confront without feeling like a bully. But make no mistake, it's a mask. Behind it is someone perfectly aware of their impact, using confusion as a weapon to delay justice, avoid growth, and maintain power, playing the victim preemptively to avoid being blamed later. One of the most chilling manipulative tactics is when someone plays the victim before any blame can even be assigned. This is
I wanted to pause there because there's been a lot of accusations of blaming the victim, right? It's a psychological trick. It's a trick. And it's not gaslighting. So, good morning. It's good to see you, JJ. How are you this morning? Glad you can join us. These are all tricks that people use to make you doubt yourself. Am I being too weak minded? Am I taking more out of this than I should? Am I being too emotional about things? It's a trick. People use it all the time. And it's sad. You can't play a victim when you are a victim. And professionals, so called professionals, use this trick all the time. Subscribe to Beyond the Obvious and Sleepwise. Excellent channels. Thank you, Wyoming. It is. It very much is. Yes, it sure is so. It sure is. Some people do it without even realizing they do it, right? So it's important to learn. Learn. If you want to earn, you got to learn.
Isn't just defensiveness, it's strategic emotional warfare. The manipulator weaponizes sympathy in advance, constructing a narrative where they are already the wrong party, thus stealing your ability to hold them accountable before you even try. It's emotional insurance, a shield forged from crocodile tears and carefully planted sob stories. By preemptively casting themselves as fragile, hurt, or overwhelmed, they create a psychological minefield. If you confront them, you look like the aggressor. Suddenly, you're attacking someone who just went through so much, or who's really trying their best under difficult circumstances. And if you push too hard, they'll crumble, publicly, dramatically, so that everyone sees your frustration as cruelty and their manipulation as pain. It's especially sinister because it's disguised as vulnerability. They might confess to insecurities, bring up past trauma, or highlight recent hardships, all while subtly distancing themselves from whatever wrong they're about to commit. The groundwork is laid in advance, so when the inevitable fallout comes, they've already secured emotional allies, pity points, and plausible justification. You'll feel hesitant to confront them, guilty even. And that's the whole point. It's a preloaded defense mechanism that poisons the air before conflict arises. By making themselves the first to bleed, they flip the script. You're no longer responding to betrayal. You're accused of kicking someone when they're down. It's manipulation laced with martyrdom, and it's designed to keep you silent, manufacturing coincidences.
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing to Burgundy Blue commentary right now? Right? Saying that she's playing the victim card. No, she's not. She is the victim. It's sad.
To appear omnipresent or meant to be. This trick is as seductive as it is unsettling. Some manipulators go to disturbing lengths to engineer artificial coincidences, making it seem like fate keeps pulling you together. They show up at your favorite cafe by accident, know your favorite song by chance, or mention a book you just posted about without admitting they scrolled through your feed for hours to find it. It feels magical. It feels destined, but it's anything but organic. By crafting these serendipitous moments, they create the illusion of cosmic alignment, a sense that your lives are inexplicably intertwined. It's designed to bypass your rational mind and trigger a deep emotional reaction. After all, how could someone know that about you unless it was meant to be? How could they just happen to be there again and again unless the universe was conspiring to bring you together? But behind this fantasy is ruthless planning. They observe, stalk, analyze. They tailor their presence to appear just when you're vulnerable, just when you need comfort, or just when you're starting to doubt. The effect is spiritual manipulation, a sense of shared destiny that bonds you to them quickly and deeply. It makes you drop your guard. It makes you believe in them. The danger lies in how this illusion strips you of critical thinking. You stop questioning patterns and start seeing signs. And that's when they strike, when you're emotionally tethered by the false magic they manufactured. It's not serendipity, it's surveillance in disguise, designed to blur the line between love and control. Imi-
Yeah, sleeper, smarter while you sleep is the channel. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Uh, so the person who's assigned to this channel, maybe you want to rewind that. Using religion to suck you in. That's another thing that's been going on, right? Disgustingly. What are we doing in society? What are we doing to our brains? They're turning into mush. Into mush. You're manipulating, pulling the strings in the background. You know what you're doing, but your audience doesn't. And it's sad. It's really sad to prey on people's emotions, to prey on what they say. Hey, Status, great to see you this morning. Yeah, I agree. Okay, there we go.
Imitating your mannerisms to build false rapport. There's something eerily flattering about someone who just gets you, someone who talks like you, laughs at the same pace, uses your expressions, or shares your quirky hand gestures without even trying. It feels like you found a kindred spirit, someone who sees the world through the same lens. But when that mirroring is too perfect, too fast, and too deliberate, it's not chemistry, it's strategy. Imitating your mannerisms is a manipulative shortcut to intimacy. It taps into the brain's natural affinity for the familiar. When someone reflects your movements, speech patterns, and micro behaviors, your subconscious registers them as safe, trustworthy, and even attractive. This is the same psychological mechanism that makes people bond with those who resemble them, and that's exactly what the manipulator is counting on. They study you with precision, how you nod, the rhythm of your laugh, the slang you use, the way you tilt your head when you're unsure, or the phrases you rely on when you're nervous. Then they play them back to you like a polished mirror. You feel seen, maybe even soul connected, but what you're actually seeing is your own reflection. This imitation builds a synthetic rapport that feels real. You open up faster. You trust them more deeply. You assume they understand you because they behave just like you. But it's a lie, cloaked in familiarity. The manipulator has no intention of connecting. They're imitating to manipulate, not to bond. You're not forming a connection. You're being baited into one. And by the time you realize how perfectly they molded themselves to fit you, you're already emotionally invested in someone who never truly existed. Pacing your speech pattern to subconsciously influence trust. There's a subtle art to manipulation that doesn't involve shouting, demanding, or even persuading. It involves rhythm, timing, silence. When a manipulator paces your speech pattern, matching your tempo, tone, and verbal cadence, they're not just making conversation. They're slipping past your defenses and quietly reprogramming how you feel about them. This technique feels so natural that most people never notice it. If you speak slowly and thoughtfully, they do too. If you're passionate and animated, their energy rises to match. Their voice seems to wrap around yours like an echo. You feel heard, understood, aligned, and your brain responds by releasing tiny signals of safety and familiarity because we're evolutionarily hardwired to trust those who sound like us. But it's not about connection, it's about control. Pacing speech isn't just mimicry, it's a strategic way to calibrate your emotional state. Once the manipulator has matched your rhythm, they begin to lead it. Slowly, subtly, they change the tempo. They inject urgency or calm into the conversation, guiding your emotional response without you realizing what's happening. They speed up to incite anxiety, slow down to draw you in, pause at just the right moment to let a word hit harder. Every silence is calculated, every inflection rehearsed, and because they sound like you, your guard drops. You mistake manipulation for empathy. You start agreeing with them before your brain catches up. It's hypnosis in plain sight, voice to voice persuasion that bypasses logic and aims directly at your nervous system. It doesn't just earn trust, it hijacks it, making you laugh just before delivering an insult, softens the blow. Laughter is disarming. It drops your guard, loosens tension, and makes you feel safe right before the knife slides in. One of the most cunning psychological tactics is when someone uses humor as a smokescreen to disguise an insult, slipping cruelty into a moment of levity so it stings less, but cuts deeper. This tactic isn't just about getting away with being mean, it's about controlling how you receive their hostility. The setup is always the same. They get you laughing. Maybe it's a shared joke, an inside reference, or a funny story that draws you in. You're smiling, relaxed, open. Then, just as you're fully engaged, they strike. You're so emotional, like it's cute how everything gets to you. Or, wow, look at you trying to be deep today. It's a jab hidden inside a joke, and your brain freezes for a second, unsure whether to laugh or flinch. That confusion is intentional. By pairing the insult with laughter, they soften your instinct to defend yourself. If you react, you risk looking sensitive or humorless. It was just a joke, they'll say, gaslighting you into believing your hurt feelings are the real problem, not their cruel delivery. Over time, this technique erodes your confidence. You begin to accept subtle digs as normal, and worse, you might even laugh along with them just to maintain the peace. But each laugh costs you a piece of self respect. The joke isn't funny, it's a leash. And every time you let it slide, the chain tightens. Asking questions, they know the answer to control the conversation. It feels harmless at first. They ask you something simple, something you're sure they already know. Wait, didn't you say you were working late tonight? Or, you still haven't talked to her, right? You brush it off, thinking they forgot, or maybe they're just confirming. But they're not seeking answers. They're seizing control. When someone repeatedly asks questions they already know the answer to, they're not being curious. They're being dominant. This tactic gives the illusion of innocence while positioning them as the one guiding the conversation. Every time you answer, even if it's obvious or repetitive, you're yielding control, confirming facts on their terms, playing by their script. They become the one driving the narrative while you're busy responding to things they already understand. It's also a way to test your consistency without revealing their suspicions. If your answer shifts even slightly, they catch it. They mentally flag you as dishonest, defensive, or vulnerable, even if your variation was minor or unconscious. Meanwhile, their own intentions remain hidden, protected under the mask of innocent inquiry. But the most insidious part is how it subtly diminishes your confidence. You start to question whether you remembered things right, whether you really said what you thought you said. The manipulator, on the other hand, looks increasingly composed, calm, methodical, and concerned. It's a performance of patience, but it's built on power. These questions aren't about truth, they're about surveillance. Each one is a leash, disguised as curiosity, tightening just enough to remind you who's leading the conversation and who's following. Losing on purpose, early in a
Boy, we've all fell into that, haven't we? I think we need to slow our brains down a bit, our emotional triggers down a bit. all of us, all of us, so we can recognize manipulation, gaslighting. Gaslighting isn't when you talk about somebody, and I played that video last night, but I will upload some of these. Tonight, I'm going to be working throughout the day, uploading warrant lists, because we want to know where the money went. But what is distracting us from finding out where the money went in Dalton and Thornton Township? Manipulation, distractions, chiming in on our emotions, pushing buttons. We're all guilty of that. All of us. We fall into a trap where we struggle to try to get out. And it's a vicious cycle over and over and over again until you forget who you really are, who you have been all your life, because you've been manipulated, gaslighted. I'm guilty of it. Absolutely. Let's play a little bit more. This is going to be a short live.
Competition to lower your guard. There's something strangely comforting about an opponent who doesn't seem threatening, someone who fumbles, hesitates, or even lets you win. You relax. You get confident. You stop watching your back. That's exactly the point. One of the most deceptive manipulation tactics is when someone intentionally loses early in games, debates, business, or social dynamics, not out of weakness, but strategy. The false defeat is a calculated move designed to make you drop your defenses. When someone lets you believe you're better, stronger, or smarter than them, you stop treating them as a threat. You underestimate them. You may even start giving them hints, tips, or access to your inner circle, thinking they're not competition. But behind the scenes, they're watching, studying your patterns, your strengths, your blind spots. Then, when it really counts, they strike. Suddenly, the person who wasn't trying crushes you. They win the deal. They get the promotion. They destroy your argument in public. And you're left scrambling, shocked at how easily they flip the game. You question yourself, your instincts, your memory. How did you miss it? How did they change so fast? But they didn't change. They revealed themselves. This tactic works because it taps into pride and complacency. It makes you feel superior just long enough to blind you. And when the real game begins, you're emotionally unprepared. Losing on purpose is not weakness. It's the calm before the ambush. A manipulator who plays dumb in the beginning is often the most dangerous one in the end, getting you to owe them something small to control you later. It begins with something so minor, so seemingly generous that you don't even think to question it. They bring you coffee when you didn't ask, offer a ride when it's slightly out of their way, cover a small bill and brush it off with a smile. Don't worry about it, they say. It's nothing. But it's not nothing. It's the first move in a psychological transaction you didn't agree to, one designed to make you feel indebted and therefore controllable. Manipulators understand a deep truth about human nature. We hate feeling like we owe someone. Reciprocity is baked into our social DNA. When someone gives to us, we feel an invisible pressure to return the favor, even when the gift was unsolicited. The sociopath exploits this instinct masterfully, offering small, casual favors that come preloaded with silent strings. Days or weeks later, the debt surfaces. They ask for a favor, expect compliance, or subtly guilt trip you when you hesitate. After everything I've done for you, they might say, leaving you stunned. It doesn't matter how trivial the original gesture was. What matters is that it now hangs over your head like a contract you never signed. The brilliance of this tactic is its subtlety. You'll look ungrateful if you refuse their help, and selfish if you resist repaying it. That's the trap. They gain leverage over your conscience, making you second guess your boundaries. It's emotional blackmail in disguise, disarming you with kindness, then twisting it into a leash. The price of the favor was never money, it was control. Faking deep vulnerability to disarm your skepticism. Few things melt defenses faster than someone who opens up about their pain. When someone shares a raw emotional story, a childhood trauma, a recent heartbreak, a lifelong insecurity, it instantly changes the atmosphere. You lean in, you soften, your judgment dissolves. That's exactly what the manipulator is counting on. Faking deep vulnerability is a masterstroke in psychological manipulation because it weaponizes empathy against you. It doesn't matter if their story is true, exaggerated, or entirely fabricated. What matters is the effect, the trembling voice, the downcast eyes, the long pause before revealing something they've never told anyone. Your instincts scream, this person is hurt, not harmful. You stop asking questions, source, you stop being skeptical. You become a caregiver, not a challenger. And once that wall of scrutiny falls, they slip through. Suddenly, you're making excuses for them. You overlook red flags because they've been through so much. You offer support, patience, trust because it feels cruel not to. They've shown you their scars, so they must be safe, right? But what you don't see is the calculation behind the tears, the way they time their confessions, the way their deepest wounds conveniently surface only when you start pulling away or asking too many questions. This isn't connection, it's camouflage. By appearing vulnerable, they invert the power dynamic. You feel guilty for doubting them, and in that emotional haze, they move freely, unchecked. Manipulators who fake vulnerability aren't looking for healing, they're looking for access. They're not wounded, they're hunting. And your empathy is the open door they walk through, talking about enemies who resemble you to manipulate your behavior. They'll mention someone casually, an ex, a former friend, a coworker, someone they clearly disdain. But as they talk, a quiet chill runs through you. The way they describe this enemy feels eerily familiar. She was so sensitive, always taking things the wrong way. Or, he needed constant validation, such a drain. You nod, but inside, something twists. Because you're sensitive, you do seek reassurance. And suddenly, you're wondering, is that how they see me too? This tactic is psychological sleight of hand. The manipulator isn't just venting, they're laying bait. By describing a disliked person in a way that mirrors your traits or behaviors, they're planting a seed of self-doubt. It's a veiled warning. Don't be like them. And because the connection is never direct, you can't call it out without sounding paranoid. You're not like that, they'll say. I didn't mean you. But the implication lingers, sharp and unspoken. It's a method of preemptive control. Without directly criticizing you, they steer you away from behaviors they dislike, silencing your needs, muting your personality, editing your authenticity. You become hyper aware of how you come across, afraid to be labeled like them. And over time, you shrink yourself to stay on their good side. It's not feedback. It's fear-mongering through comparison. They mold your behavior by creating ghosts of people you never met, prototypes of what not to be. And the more you hear about these cautionary tales, the more you contort yourself, not realizing you're being reshaped by a story that was never truly about someone else. It was always about controlling you, overloading you with small kindnesses. Before a major ask, it begins with generosity, thoughtful messages, tiny favors, compliments that feel genuine, acts of support so subtle they almost go unnoticed. They remember your coffee order, offer to help with something minor, cheer you on when no one else is watching. It feels refreshing, like someone actually sees you, but behind the charm is a transaction you haven't been told about yet. The manipulator is building a debt, brick by brick, and when they cash it in, it won't be small. This tactic preys on the psychological principle of reciprocity. Human beings are wired to return kindness. When someone gives to us, especially repeatedly, we feel pressure to give back, even if we never ask for the help. And that's the setup. Each tiny favor is a silent investment, not in you, but in control. Then, when the moment is right, they ask for something big, a favor that crosses your boundaries, a compromise that costs you, a decision that benefits them far more than it benefits you. And when you hesitate, they don't need to guilt trip you. You'll do it yourself. After everything they've done for me, you'll feel obligated, trapped, manipulated, but unsure if you're allowed to be angry. Because how can you say no to someone who's been nothing but kind? The truth is, those small kindnesses weren't free. They were currency, a carefully built illusion of goodwill designed to buy your compliance. And by the time the real price is revealed, you're already emotionally indebted, just the way they planned, gaslighting your memory of events.
This is going to be really important. As content creators on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you may go, Twitter, Twitch, there's so many of them. I can't recall them all. Ask yourself, is this person asking for money? What is the motivation behind what the content creator is doing? Are they here to help you, make you aware, or are they just after the money or the thrill of manipulation? Because some people do it out of the thrill of manipulation. They just want to see how far they can manipulate you. And it all has to do with emotions. All has to do with the emotions. Yeah, right, Ragin. I fell into it. I have fell into it. Didn't understand YouTube. People calling me names in chats. All done with it. Done. Don't even look at them. Ignore them. And they'll stay under the bridge. Or not. Maybe that's what motivates trolls, right? To cause chaos, doubt, panic, emotions. Am I guilty of it? Yes. Yes, I am. No more. When I'll call out bullshit, of course. But take a look at Shay, the late night crew. He calls it as he sees it. With no layers, nothing. That's who Shay is. Burgundy Blue Commentary. Reality Check TV Chicago. You laugh at him. You know, last Sunday, there was a troll in the chat just clicking away, and nobody knows this but me. Somebody was clicking away at laughing emojis. And those who attend this service on Sundays will know that. Behind the scenes, I was clicking on the heart button so I could overshadow the laughter at what he was teaching us. And it worked. That person behind the keyboard continuously clicked the laughing emoji, constantly, trying to disrupt the teachings of the day. So behind the scenes, I was rapidly clicking the heart emoji, praying to God that I could outlast the idiot on the other end. And God gave the grace to do that. And that troll went away. It's all about love and God. And if you don't believe in that, I don't know what it is. They got bored. Yes, love over hate. That was terrible. Those laughing emojis. It was horrible. He's trying to teach the Word of God, and some idiot, and I'll call him an idiot, on some keyboard, who knows who it was, can't explain it to anyone. It's just a thing you have to unfortunately learn. Absolutely. I've learned after so many shocks from that shock collar. Whoop! My mother's saying, oh shit, let me play this and help her out. Yeah, like gremlins, don't feed them.
Subtly and
There we go.
slowly. It doesn't start with bold lies. It starts with tiny corrections, gentle, casual, almost loving. That's not how it happened, they say with a smile. You're misremembering again. You brush it off. Maybe you did get the timing wrong. Maybe the tone wasn't what you recall. But the more it happens, the more unsure you become. This isn't about miscommunication. It's a deliberate erasure of your reality, done drop by drop, until your confidence dissolves completely. Subtle gaslighting is more dangerous than outright denial because it's gradual, it's patient, and it doesn't just challenge what happened, it rewrites it. They might insist you agreed to something you know you didn't, or remind you of a conversation that never occurred. When you push back, they don't argue, they pity you. You always get so confused. Your memory's been off lately. I think you're just tired. These aren't statements. They're psychological poison, disguised as concern. The goal isn't just to win an argument, it's to make you distrust yourself. Over time, you begin questioning your instincts, your memory, your judgment. You start deferring to their version of events, even when it feels wrong in your gut. And once they control your perception of the past, they control your interpretation of the present, of reality itself. Gaslighting isn't just manipulation, it's identity erosion. You're not just being told you're wrong, you're being slowly disconnected from the one thing that anchors you, your mind. And by the time you realize something is off, you're already asking them what's real because you've forgotten how to trust yourself. Agreeing with you passionately, then twisting your point later. It feels electric when someone passionately agrees with you. They nod intensely, echo your words back to you, even finish your sentences. You feel seen, validated, maybe even admired. But sometimes this kind of agreement isn't a meeting of minds, it's a trap being quietly set. The manipulator isn't aligning with your ideas because they believe them. They're storing your words like ammunition, preparing to twist them later when it suits their agenda. At first, they mimic your conviction. Yes, I totally agree with you. People should speak their truth. You feel connected. You open up more. You start speaking freely, letting your guard down, believing this is someone who shares your values. But later, in an argument, they throw your own words back at you with just enough distortion to make them sting. Suddenly, speak your truth becomes, so now you're just saying whatever you want without caring how it affects people. It's disorienting. You try to defend yourself, but it's like arguing against a warped reflection of your own voice. They twist your meaning just enough that you start to doubt your own words. Maybe you were too harsh. Maybe you did sound arrogant. You find yourself backtracking, clarifying, apologizing for things you never actually said, at least not like that. That's the genius of the tactic. It creates a sense of betrayal without the manipulator ever having to raise their voice. They weaponize your own authenticity, using your earlier confidence as leverage to control you later. The trust they built through agreement becomes the very tool they use to make you question everything, creating tension and releasing it to bond you via trauma bonding. It begins with a rush, an emotional high that feels electric. Maybe they praise you intensely, make you feel seen in a way no one else ever has. But just as quickly, the warmth fades. A sharp comment, an unexplained coldness, a sudden withdrawal of affection. You're left confused, hurt, and scrambling to figure out what you did wrong. Then, just when you're about to pull away, they come back. Softer, sweeter, apologetic. The relief hits like a drug, and that's exactly what they're counting on. This cycle of tension and release is the foundation of trauma bonding. The manipulator creates emotional chaos, then plays the hero who soothes it. They become both the source of pain and the cure. Your nervous system, hijacked by the constant spikes of fear and relief, starts to equate their approval with survival. You don't just want their affection, you need it to feel okay. The brilliance and cruelty of this tactic lie in its rhythm. The tension isn't constant, it's strategic. Just enough cruelty to destabilize you, just enough kindness to keep you hooked. The psychological roller coaster conditions you to crave their validation like oxygen. When things are good, it feels euphoric. When things are bad, you blame yourself, and you wait desperately for the next high because you've learned that pain always precedes love in their world. Over time, your identity warps. You don't know where they end and you begin. You start accepting their emotional volatility as passion, as depth, as fate. But it's not fate. It's a chemical leash, expertly tightened each time they make you suffer, then offer relief, giving vague praise that can later be withdrawn or used against you. At first, the praise feels good. It's subtle, almost humble. You've really got a presence about you, they say with a half smile, or there's just something different about the way you think. You're flattered, even if you're not quite sure what they mean. That's exactly the point. The praise is vague, ambiguous, and hard to define, not because they lack the words, but because they want the power to redefine it later. Vague praise is a manipulator's blank check. It hooks into your need for approval, but keeps you guessing. You start working harder, not just to maintain the compliment, but to figure it out. What exactly did they mean? What did I do right? This uncertainty keeps you tethered to their opinion, constantly seeking more specific validation that never quite comes. Then comes the twist. One day, they change the tone. That presence they once admired, now it's a little too much. That different way of thinking, suddenly it's a bit scattered or hard to follow. They never have to lie or contradict themselves. They simply reframe what they once praised. And because the original compliment was so abstract, you can't pin them down or prove the shift. You're left confused, questioning yourself, and craving the version of their approval that felt good. It's a psychological leash, praise that flatters just enough to hook you, but stays shapeless enough to be reshaped as punishment. It's not admiration, it's control disguised as kindness, and it leaves you chasing clarity that was never meant to arrive, telling you a secret to coax one out of you. It starts innocently enough. They lean in, drop their voice, and say, I've never told anyone this before. You feel honored, chosen, like you've been given access to something raw and real. They reveal a secret, something vulnerable, personal, even scandalous. You feel the weight of it, the intimacy, and that's exactly what they want. Not because they trust you, but because they want you to match it. This is not about connection. It's bait. By sharing a calculated secret, they're not exposing themselves. They're testing you. They're creating a false sense of emotional equality where you feel compelled to offer something equally deep in return. It taps into your desire to be fair, to not feel one-sided. You don't want to feel like you're withholding when they're clearly being so open. And so you spill. But while your secret is real, raw, unguarded, maybe even dangerous to share, theirs was chosen, designed, crafted to appear confessional without actually making them vulnerable. It might even be exaggerated or entirely false. It's a decoy meant to unlock your truth. Once you've opened up, the balance shifts. They now hold something real over you, something they can use, mock, weaponize, or simply remember for when control is needed. You, on the other hand, have nothing, just the illusion of closeness built on a lie. The manipulator doesn't need your trust. They need your secrets. And by appearing vulnerable first, they lure you into the trap willingly, smiling as you hand over the pieces of yourself they plan to keep. Pretend.
That's a lot, isn't it? You're absolutely right, Status. And yeah, screenshotting chats. That is over for this channel. I don't care what you say about me. I don't care. Don't ever dox me. So, for anybody listening, I don't care about your members only live. I got sucked into that. Okay. Sucked into screenshots, rising up my anger with my emotions. That's over. Done. This is going back to the channel we used to be. Learning and finding out where is the money. All of this smoke and mirrors, distractions, all of it is keeping us from our goal. Where is the money? We have a good idea where it is. And it never left. They've always been broke. The township, Dalton, Calumet, Harvey, all of them, for their own selfish purposes. So, what we're going to do is apply these tricks to real life, and we're going to compare. If you're a content creator and you get butthurt over it, I apologize now. But we will tell the truth. That's for sure. That's for certain. We have to lower our emotions so we're balanced. It's very hard to do when people are talking about you, calling you all kinds of names. Toothless. Does that hurt my feelings? No, it doesn't. But it's how you react to the attacks. And that ends today on this channel. As of this moment, it ends all of this back and forth bullshit. Just preying on your emotions. DMG, it's so good to see you this morning. Tinley Park. I know there's a content creator covering Tinley Park, and I have not covered that because of that. Because that's that content creator's niche, of covering the corruption in there. But the mayor's picture is in a dictionary. Master manipulation are hard to detect. Absolutely. But I think it's important that we point it out, right? And how people are actually being manipulated. Have I manipulated people? I probably have. Going back and thinking, what am I telling the audience? How are my words affecting this family? Because I consider you a family. I truly do. The audience, how are my words affecting the people that are listening? I think that's very important for us all to sit back and think about that. As a content creator, I have that obligation. Sometimes your emotions take control of you and you have to. Yeah, human behavior, human nature. So, going forward, we're going to point out these tricks on the mind, coupled with real life and how it's affecting your brain, with your thinking, emotions, and all that good stuff. I will be uploading warrant lists today. I'm going to have a whole playlist on Dalton, Where's the Money, and also Thornton Township, Where's the Money. I probably will categorize Thornton Township into the different municipalities so you yourself can see where's the money. Are these politicians lying to you? Are they using content creators to get their lie across? Yes, they are. Are content creators being manipulated? Yes, they are. Myself included. And then you push that onto your audience. And it's wrong. I've been wrong. We have to lower that dopamine rush. We have to lower our emotions so we're level. It's hard to do. Can't do it all the time. But we're going to try. So have a great day. I'll be uploading all day so you can see all of that. Our mission is to find where the money is, where the corruption is. And we're going back to that. Okay? I hope you have a great night. Well, great day, actually. It's beautiful out. Okay, catch you on the next one. Bye.